All right, I'd like to call over the regular meeting of the Perry Municipal Authority, June 21st, 2021 at 6:15. Roll call, please.
Wines. Morrell.
Yes.
White.
Here.
Bell. Brown.
Here.
Dillbeck.
Here.
Bond. Calderon.
Here.
Stroller.
Here. I do declare a quorum. Invocation tonight will be by Russ Meacham.
Let's pray. Father, we take this time to pause to come together to do one of the duties that you've fulfilled upon us. That being our civic duty to those around us, to our people that you've bestowed to our care. Lord, we ask tonight that you give a blessing to this council, that you grant them wisdom, grant them discernment, that the decisions they make and the actions that they take are those that will further Perry and push us further to doing good works and taking care of your people. And it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Russ. Item number 1 is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Morrell.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Dillbeck.
Yes.
Calderon.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item 4, comments from those assembled pertaining to the items on the PMA agenda. Hearing none, we will move to item 5, proclamation, accommodation, reports required by the governing body. Hearing none, at this time we're going to recess this meeting. Item 6 is also talked about on the city side, so we're going to move into the city meeting to address item 1 there, and then we'll come back and reconvene this meeting. So I need a motion to recess the PMA, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Morrell.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Dillbeck.
Yes.
Calderon.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Perry, June 21st, 2021 at 6:17. Roll call, please.
Wines. Morrell.
Here.
White. Bell. Brown.
Yes.
Dillbeck.
Here.
Bond. Calderon.
Here.
Stroller.
Here, thank you. Item number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2021-07, the City Council of the City of Perry, Perry, Oklahoma, approving its FY 2021-2022 budget and other budgets and appropriating the revenues for the state purposes as contained in the budgets. Direct the city manager and city clerk to take any and all additional actions as may be required for implementation of this budget. All right, Russ or Larry?
Let me take. All right, guys, this is the budget that we've been talking about. After the last meeting, we've gone in and removed all of the grant fund capital expenditures out of this budget, and so what you're looking at is really only the funds that will be funded with city cash. Anything that we either have in fund balance carryover or that we are going to bring in during this current operating year and expend. So let's take a step back. I met with Gloria a little earlier this afternoon, and I tried to simplify this about as easy as I can get it. So effectively, this budget really is very consistent operationally with last year's. I mean, the things that we talk about with personal services, materials and supplies, other charges and services, those things that every month I tell you, look at where we are on budget, those are all very consistent with last year. There's a few little changes here, and a couple of ups and downs based on, some additional needs in the department for supplies. We did add in this budget the pool at Derek's request. It is a broken out expense department by itself, so you can see exactly where we are on that piece. But overall, it's operationally the same. In conjunction with that, we've stayed conservative in what we've always done as far as budgeting revenues. The revenues are budgeted at 90% of last year's numbers. That kind of gives us a little bit of a cushion at the end of the year. Whenever you look at what do those net dollars mean cash-wise to us, it's about $150,000 in the general fund, and net cash is about $350,000 in the PMA that we have not budgeted. We fully expect that if as long as life carries on and everything goes the way it has this year, which we don't have any reason not to think, we will bring in about another $500,000 of revenue in next year's actual results versus the budget. The big piece in this budget that is different really revolves around two capital outlay items, okay? One of the capital outlay items is related to the dam project. It's about $615,000 left in acquisition costs on the easements that we have out there. You know, that's an item that we've had plenty of executive sessions on. You guys have heard those discussions time and time again. We've committed to those funds. We've got to build that into this budget. We knew that we were going to expend those. We don't really have any choice, but our choice is either to not do the project or to spend those funds. That's why that dollar amount's in there. We know about it. We know that it was coming out of fund balance in and I want to make sure this clarification's there. It's coming out of fund balance today, our carryover cashes. In 2026, when the bonds for the 1.5 cent sales tax that we have, 1.25 cent sales tax that we have related to Lake McMurtry project, when that finally pays off, we will still have, we're projecting right now to have excess cash. That excess cash will then come back to the general fund at that point and replenish the balance. But that's 6 years out. So we've got to spend the cash today. We will get that money back in the future at some point. But it's outside of everybody's current terms as far as when we will actually get it back. But that's what's in the budget, and that's why we're dealing with the dam project that way. The second project that is in here that, again, is another $662,000 is related to the Locust Street utilities for the residential development. You know, that dollar amount is the 1/2 of the preliminary estimate of the cost for those projects. Larry's got another meeting this week that's going to talk further about those, but that's another $600,000 in this budget. So whenever you look at the budget and whenever you take it as it is, you add up the general fund and the PMA, you know, I mean, those two operating arms of our budget. And, sorry, Mike, I'm not trying to exclude you. You need to move over to Kevin's seat tonight, and then we can address the council that way.
No, I can hear you fine.
Whenever we look at that, it's about $1.75 million. I told you there was $500,000 of unbudgeted revenues for sales tax and use tax. Gets us down to about $1.2 million. That other $1.2 million to get to zero would be the $660,000 related to the Locust project and the dam project at $600,000. So whenever you break it down that way, I mean, outside of the capital outlay, our operations were pretty good, we're break even, but our capital outlay projects are what are eating into our fund balance. And that's what you all have to get comfortable with at this point. Part of that capital outlay will come back to us 5 or 6 years down the road whenever we get enough money on the Lake McMurtry project. The other $600,000 is truly going to be a decrease in our fund balance. I mean, a deficit this large in the 10 plus years that I've been here. But this is all capital outlay budget. And if you guys are comfortable with budgeting a deficit because of capital outlay, then we need to adopt this budget as it is. If you have a hiccup with budgeting a deficit that large, then we need to talk about revenue sources or talk about other things that we want to cut. Nobody's really raised arms about that, you know, at this point and said, hey, go back and cut those things. So this is what we're presenting. I will remind you that even though we budget this $660,000 for the residential property, as I told Gloria this afternoon, I mean, there's going to be about 8 other items that you all have to approve before we would ever get to expending those dollars. So it may be in this budget as dollars, but it's nothing that can just be spent tomorrow. These dollars are all dollars that will have to come back with a development agreement. We'll have to come back with an engineering bid and then out for bid. And then, I mean, we'll do it 4, 5, and 6 times over before those dollars are ever spent. So operationally, we're good. I'm comfortable with where we're sitting operationally. It's the capital outlay that's really creating our budget deficit this year. Questions?
Could you speak to the interfund agreement between that and the McMurtry sales tax?
So, in the McMurtry sales tax, we currently have a surplus cash of almost $1 million after we make the bond payment and everything comes out. That sales tax that we've collected over the years and up to this point, that is in excess. Whenever we take a step back and look, though, we're still committed out through 2026 to make those bond payments out of the sales tax. Without issuing parity, without going out and parity meaning issuing another obligation that's equal to the existing pledge of those revenues, and going through all the procedures and everything else to do that. My goal is to wait until we get that debt paid off. And there are actually 2 more years of sales tax collections available after the debt has been paid off. They were very conservative whenever they did it. I want to go back and thank the groups that did it. They didn't pledge sales tax plus a whole lot more. They were conservative. So they gave us 2 extra years, and those dollars and this project, we've all talked about, will meet the compliance requirements of that sales tax. It's related to water infrastructure, it's related to long-term providing of water for the city. So what we're effectively doing is waiting, we'll upfront the money, pay for these easements, and then we're waiting until sales tax has paid off all of the bonds, and then we'll pay the money back to the city out of those remaining funds. Then we'll talk about what other water projects probably need to be done at that point. Back to water lines, as Bill has said time and time again to me. When are we going to get to work on these water lines? We'll get back to the water lines at that point. We'll start doing, and we'll see what monies are available under that sales tax. In the same token, we'll also talk about long-term, probably in 2024. Man, guys, we start talking about 2024, we're talking 3 years away. I used to think that was a long time out in the future. These years are getting closer and closer to where we are. But we'll start talking about, renewing that 1 1/4 cent sales tax. We'll talk about what projects it really needs to go to. What do we want to do with those funds at that point? But that's kind of, Bryce, does that answer your question?
Yes, I just want to make sure everyone knows that
what you're asking.
That'll be reimbursed back to the general fund at the appropriate time. That is if you approve the agreement, which we would recommend.
What small council's here? Do you all have any questions?
It will take all 5 of you approving it tonight, or voting yes on the budget. If we get a no vote, we can't approve the budget tonight. So that is.
You will have a special meeting Wednesday.
If this is not passed, out of an abundance of precaution, okay, and please don't take it that I doubted you all were going to adopt this in any way, shape, or form. But in order to comply with the Municipal Budget Act, we have to adopt this budget by the 23rd. With this meeting being on the 21st, it would have to be a special meeting on the 23rd. Dixie has to have 48 hours to post that meeting. Out of an abundance of caution, I asked her this afternoon to go ahead and post a special meeting for the 23rd in case something came up tonight and we did not get this adopted. Again, CYA, I don't anticipate that you guys aren't going to vote yes on this, but.
Well, it was more that we thought we had to have 6 votes.
And yes, and if we were going to have 6 votes, it would have, yes, it would have pushed us over the top. We couldn't have gotten 6 tonight.
So we can do it with 5.
We can do it with 5.
So council? Someone's got to speak up. Unfortunately.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
So I do have a couple questions,
All
sorry.
right,
I
go
was
ahead.
on
No,
the last
there's
one.
more than fine.
So the Locust project, that has been closed on already?
I'm
Yes.
sorry?
The Locust?
Yes, they did close on that.
They did
yes.
close on it.
Yes, ma'am.
And in 6 years, essentially, this will be a wash with these 2 capital outlays, right? So we'll get the dam project back from the bond, right? stay with me, okay. I'm probably not saying this right.
Is yes, if those funds come out, those would be first funds available. We would have till 2024 to get those expended. It would probably make the most sense to use those for the acquisition of those water rights. But I can't tell you, I don't want to mislead you at all.
Sure.
In a game plan. Does that make sense? I mean, but yes, that's probably where those funds will end up coming from. And we will have that $615,000 relieved and paid off well before 2026.
Okay.
But in my conservative case, I'm telling you 2026.
Okay.
Was there a part two to that question?
No, that was it.
Well, you mentioned the locust, so that's where I was. Right
Yeah.
now, we do not have any game plan we have no agreements in place. We don't have anything related to that locust money, the
So as time progresses,
$662,000.
even if we approve the budget tonight with that included, it very well may not happen,
Correct.
That's correct.
right? Okay, I just want to make sure that
Yes.
even if we approve that as time goes on and we learn more, that if there's something that, stands out, that we can say.
You can put the kibosh on it.
And we
Okay.
still have the ability to put things in agreements.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bryce hasn't drawn up any agreements between us
Okay.
and them.
Okay,
And we had a discussion today of what's that gonna look like, and we don't know, but yeah, all that has to come back to us before any of that money is spent.
okay,
And we do want to make certain that we understand that with this all-electric community, that will come back to us as well. And not dollar for dollar, but.
Sure.
But we will get some of those back over that period of time.
sure. Understood. Okay. That's all the questions I had.
I think everybody has a problem with the deficit.
Do you have any question for a call roll? Okay. Roll call, please.
Morrell,
Yes.
Brown. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Delbeck,
Yes.
Calderon,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, at this point, we will recess the city council meeting. So I will need a motion to recess, and then we'll go back and reconvene into the municipal court.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Morrell,
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Delbeck,
Yes.
Calderon,
Yeah.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item 6.
Yep.
Okay. Consider ratifying resolution number 2020.
Don't we have to reconvene?
Oh, we do. I apologize for that. Motion to reconvene.
If you can't buy it here, at least ship it here. And we'll get the use tax or sales tax one way or the other. Those dollars then get spent and invested back here in the community. As far as operating expenses on both the city and the PMA, we're going to be within our budgeted numbers, especially if we make a handful of these amendments. It's all net increases to our fund balance, except we already talked about the PMA, but as far as the rest of the general fund departments go, it'll be increases to our net fund balance. So those are good things. That comes because we budgeted 90% of our revenues, and we're now recognizing that final 100%. So we will get some net increases as far as all of those go. Right now, the PMA's probably looking at about a $60,000 surplus for the year. Guys, $60,000 isn't enough to continue to add to the bottom line. I mean, the budget we adopted just had a $1.2 million decrease, but it is a positive number. And considering all that we went through this last year, considering everything that's happened with COVID and shutdowns and people, not available, not in public and those kind of things, I consider that a win. We didn't end up in a budget deficit. We will carry forward money from fiscal year 21 into fiscal year 22, maybe $125,000 total, but that is a plus for us. So those are good things, and that's really the highlights of what I have. You guys have any questions?
If we get reimbursed some of that FEMA money from Ice storm, where will that go back to?
Back to the general
General
fund.
fund.
Yes. That'll be a general fund reimbursement.
Any questions? Item number 9, consider item pertaining to the planning and land use. Receive recommendation from the Perry Planning Commission on the site plan review application of Lisa Quinley, a representative of Rick Stubert, architect, on the behalf of the Exchange Bank and Trust Company of Perry for the location of an automatic teller machine with canopy ATM at 422 6th Street, Perry, Oklahoma, considering approval of the site plan as submitted, as it should be amended, or should be amended. Okay, they had the site plan, the planning commission met right before our meeting, and it was approved. They recommended that we approve this, as it says it's written.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Morrell,
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Dillbeck.
Yes.
Kolar.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item 10, consider approval of the June budget amendments to the fiscal year 2020 and 2021 city budget. I'd like to ask you to keep talking. Bryce ain't had his turn, so.
You get charged by that.
This is my night out of the year. I mean, I get one meeting out of 24 that I get to do the majority of the talking instead of Bryce, so I'm gonna take all.
I just wanted to mention his name, the only reason I brought that up.
I thought I'd take another 30 minutes and go over these budget
Sounds
amendments.
great
Is
to
that
me.
all right with you, Mayor?
Sounds good.
Well, you know, I almost lost my life pulling into the parking lot tonight, I'm just gonna say. You know, I didn't know that you could turn, you know, as you're headed from the west to the east, coming down
Such an
Cedar.
arc.
I didn't know that you could pull a U-turn into a parking spot, you know, I mean, I was looking out my back window thinking, hey, there's no cars coming, I'll open my door and get out, right?
Didn't know you were standing there.
Hey, if guilty parties want to admit who they are, it's okay, I'll let the guilty parties speak up. But other than that, I was just gonna say that I almost lost my life coming here tonight, so I'm
There are some
I'm going to
privileges
take
as a
my
council
time
member.
and.
We made an amendment, let you live.
Oh, is that what it was?
I don't know, maybe it's not over yet, and since you just knocked me out,
I'm
so.
glad it was Amber, not me, because I didn't just defer her.
The night is yet young.
All right, needless to say, see, I had my
30
time.
minutes.
I told you that somebody was going to get it, but hey, she fessed up herself. I mean, I guess guilty conscience works out better that way.
That's actually my downfall, being too honest.
Being too honest, okay. Here's the budget amendments for tonight, guys. There's, like I mentioned earlier in my report, net increase to the general fund, net increase to airport, sales tax funds, both are getting net increases. So all of these are additional revenues that are coming in. The expenses have all been things that you guys have approved in the past. We did Marches. These are just the final pieces of getting all of those rectified and reconciled for end of year. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Motion to approve the June budget amendments, 2021.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Morrell,
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Dillbeck.
Yes.
Kolar.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item 11, consider approval of an amendment to Chapter 1, Section 9, subsection J of the subsection of the City of Perry, Perry Municipal Authority Personnel Manual as amended through March 1st, 2020, amending the provision concerning nepotism and amending the Chapter 5, Section 5A by the addition of a new subsection 37 concerning interfering in the discipline or promoting of a relative. It's your one chance, sir. Speak quickly.
This was actually requested by the police department as a part of their contract negotiations. But I think we've discussed about this from time to time, nepotism and then also relatives working. We did a little amendment on the nepotism part. And we actually referenced the chart that wasn't referenced in the last one. There's a chart in the personnel manual. But, I mean, I think the key is that we're a small enough city that I think management believes that they can keep this is in check. We're limiting the applicant pool, and let me tell you, limiting the applicant pool right now is not a good idea because we're just not getting, the applicants that we used to. And then it got worse, and now it's gotten pretty terrible. And sometimes there's brothers, fathers, sons that that may want to work for the city. So what we did is we substituted a provision that said that the supervisor relative can't interfere with the promotion or the discipline of any employee. So what we did is we used I would say a scalpel to attempt to alleviate the problem that comes by way of relatives rather than a machete to chop it out, at the first. Now, we think that we have the right management team and the right folks to deal with this. Now, if problems come up, this manual can be changed at any time. But it is your policy manual, and although it's to be administered by the manager. But it was requested from the police department. It was one of the things that they actually put on the list that they wanted to do and see, and so it's presented to you for your consideration. If this gets passed, relatives being in the same division in the same department is no longer prohibited. But as I said, supervisor relative cannot engage in the promotion or the discipline of employees, of relative employees.
I do think that this is a good fit for Perry. If we were larger, that might be a different story. But I think for Perry, it goes back to the way, Mayor, that we handled the pandemic, and with your leadership, that's what we did. We didn't look at necessarily what Norman did or Oklahoma City. We chose what was good for Perry and took that direction. And I think that's this nepotism, as it's written right here, is the right fit for us. Chief, have anything? I'm sorry, I'm taking your meeting here.
No, what we discussed, currently we have two officers that are stepbrothers, and one was wanting to apply for sergeant. The way it's written now, he could never promote ever within the department because he had a family member and he couldn't supervise that particular brother. That's when you start losing guys. Like, if I can't promote Perry, I'm going somewhere else, and I want to keep what we have. But I talked to Larry, I called a lot of agencies on this subject. Stillwater, we can't compare, but they do have a husband and wife that work on the same department, but they never work the same shift. They can't supervise their spouse or what's been back and forth. Unfortunately, Perry, we don't have that 80-man department. We're small. The way I wanted it written up was, say one of the brothers got promoted to sergeant, they would never work together. That would never be their supervisor. But being small, if we got sickness, we got vacations, there needs to be a clause written to where they may possibly have to work together, but it's never going to be scheduled that way. Because situations do come up to where they may have to work on the same shift on an emergency basis. But I want the guys to be able to promote, and I told Larry, I said, just put it on me as a department head. I can't hire my son, my sister. That would not be right. I just put it on me as the department head. I can't hire family, but if you got family working already in the department, I want them to be able to promote and stay in Perry instead of looking at it as like I can't ever promote in Perry because my brother works here. So that's all we were asking, was trying to change the policy to where you can work together as long as you're not supervising.
And of course, what we did is we wrote a broader policy. Each department can write the policy how they want to. But this is, I mean, if they want to be more specific, because he spoke to a more specific, never on the same shift. Well, you can hardly do that on streets, can you? Because there's one shift. So, you know, those issues can be resolved at the department level. What we were doing is trying to write something that would work, you know, across the board, and then we can deal with the policy manual for any department that wants some additional rules in their department for those departments. So we are recommending this policy for adoption.
What are you gonna do with item 11, council? I'll
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Morrow,
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Hillback.
Yes.
Goldar.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Thank you. Item 12, authorize the award of a bid to Kyle Haley in the amount of $3,160 and authorize the mayor to sign the South Commercial Park lease agreement. Kyle's rented or leased would be the proper term, the property across the road south from Sooners Corner that we owned for quite a number of years. And this is the lease agreement again.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Morrow,
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Hillback.
Yes.
Goldar.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Bryce, before I read this in, we're just gonna do item 4. We'll skip over. those two.
No, I think we, you know, no, I think we can do all of them.
Okay. All right, item 13, consider convening an executive session to, 1, discuss the appraisal and the purchase of certain real property related to the Upper Black Bear Watershed Project pursuant to Title 25, Section 307B3 of the Oklahoma statutes as amended. Item 2, to discuss and matter pertaining to economic development of the city of Perry, to discuss the proposal of enticement of location of a medical-related business to the city of Perry to create additional jobs and payroll, as public disclosure of the proposal will interfere with the development and implementation of the proposal pursuant to 25 OS 307C11 Oklahoma statutes as amended. Item 3, discuss the proposal pertaining to the economic development of the city of Perry to entice the location of a business to the Perry Commercial Park to create additional jobs and payroll, as public disclosure of the proposal will interfere with the development implementation of the proposal pursuant to 25 OS 307C11 Oklahoma statutes as amended. And item 4, discuss the current negotiations with police and fire collective bargaining unit pursuant to Title 25 307B2 of the Oklahoma statutes.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like for the police and fire chief and also Captain Duke to stay around for the last one. And if we can move 4 and make it the first one.
That would be fine.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Motion?
Motion to convene an executive session.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Morrow,
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Hillback.
Yes.
Goldar. Stroller.
Yes. All right, item 14, motion to reconvene in a regular session, please.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Earl,
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Dillbeck.
Yes.
Goldar.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yep, thank you. Item 15, take any action deemed necessary pursuant to such executive sessions. Hearing none, we will move to item 16, any new business this evening for the council. Hearing none, item 17, adjournment, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Roll call, please.
Earl,
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Dillbeck.
Yes.
Goldar.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.